She didn't scream when they put the handcuffs on her. She didn't cry when they pushed her into the back of the police car. She didn't say a single word when they locked her in a concrete cell and walked away like she was already guilty. But when the woman who destroyed her life walked through that cell door 3 hours later, looked her dead in the eyes, and whispered, "This is what happens when you don't know your place," that's when Rosa Delgado finally understood. Some people aren't just evil. Some people are patient. They wait. They plan. They smile at you for years while sharpening the knife behind their back. And by the time you see it coming, it's already buried in your heart. What this billionaire discovered on his deleted files didn't just end his engagement. It exposed a murder plot so calculated, so cold-blooded, that even the detectives couldn't believe what they were seeing. But here's the question that's going to haunt you until the very last second of this story. If Rosa was innocent, why didn't she defend herself? Why did she stay silent while they dragged her away? What was she protecting that was more important than her own freedom? Before we dive in, I need you to do something for me. If you believe that the truth has a way of finding the light, no matter how deep someone tries to bury it, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a like on this video because it tells me you want more stories like this one. And leave a comment below. Tell me about a time when someone you trusted completely turned out to be your worst enemy. I read every single comment. Now, let's get into this. Rosa Delgado had always believed that if you work hard enough, if you keep your head down, if you never complain and never ask for more than you deserve, life will eventually reward you. She was wrong. At 38 years old, sitting in a cold concrete cell with her back against the wall, and her hands still trembling from the metal that had been wrapped around her wrists, Rosa finally understood something her mother had tried to tell her before she died. Mija, the world doesn't care how good you are. It only cares how powerful you are. And people like us, we will never be powerful. Rosa had rejected those words back then. She was 19, full of hope, ready to leave El Salvador and build a new life in a country where hard work meant something, where honesty was rewarded, where people like her could rise. 18 years later, she was sitting in a jail cell, accused of murdering an old woman she had loved like her own grandmother. The fluorescent light above her buzzed endlessly. The cell smelled like disinfectant mixed with despair, the smell of hundreds of people who had sat in this exact spot, wondering how everything had fallen apart so completely. Rosa closed her eyes and saw Eleanor's face. Eleanor Webb, 78 years old. Silver hair in an elegant bun. Gentle hands that shook slightly when she held her teacup. A laugh like wind chimes. The only person in that house who had ever treated Rosa like a human being. And now she was dead. And everyone believed Rosa had killed her. 24 hours earlier, the Webb mansion had been filled with the sound of laughter. Not the polished, performative laughter of dinner parties and business gatherings. This was the real kind, the messy kind, the kind that comes from two 5-year-old girls chasing each other through a kitchen while their grandmother pretends to be a monster. "I'm going to get you," Eleanor growled playfully, her arms raised like claws as she shuffled after Sophia and Emily with exaggerated slowness. Sophia shrieked and ran behind Rosa's legs, using her as a shield. Emily stood her ground, hands on her hips, chin raised. "You can't get us, Grandma. Rosie will protect us." Rosa laughed, wiping flour from her hands onto her apron. She had been making empanadas, a recipe her mother had taught her before she passed. The twins had begged her to teach them, and Eleanor had insisted on joining. The kitchen was a disaster. Flour everywhere. Dough stuck to the counter. Tiny handprints on every surface. It was perfect. Okay, Eleanor said, lowering her monster arms with a dramatic sigh. "You win, but only because Rosa is too powerful." She winked at Rosa, and Rosa felt that warmth spread through her chest. The warmth of belonging somewhere, of being seen, of matching to someone. Eleanor settled into a chair at the kitchen island, slightly out of breath but smiling. At 78, her body was slowing down, but her spirit remained sharp and bright. "Rosa, come sit with me for a moment," Eleanor said, patting the chair beside her. "Let the girls destroy the kitchen without supervision for 5 minutes. It builds character." Rosa hesitated, glancing at the mess. Sit, Eleanor repeated firmly. That's an order. Rosa sat. For a moment, neither of them spoke. They just watched Sophia and Emily argue over who got to roll the next ball of dough, their small voices filling the kitchen with life. Then Eleanor said something that Rosa wouldn't understand until much later. You know, Rosa, I've been thinking about my will. Rosa stiffened. Mrs. Webb, that's not my business. Hush, Eleanor interrupted gently. I'm not asking for advice. I'm just thinking out loud. I've decided to leave most of my money to charity. Medical research, children's hospitals, education funds for families who can't afford it. Rosa nodded slowly, unsure why Eleanor was telling her this. Marcus will be fine, Eleanor continued. He has more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes, and the girls will have trust funds that will take care of them no matter what. She paused. But Vanessa, Eleanor's voice dropped lower. Vanessa will get nothing. Rosa felt a chill run down her spine. I don't trust her, Rosa. I've watched her for 2 years now. The way she looks at my accounts. The way she asks about my health. The way she smiles at me with those cold, empty eyes. Eleanor turned to face Rosa directly. Promise me something. Rosa's throat tightened. Anything, Mrs. Webb. If anything happens to me, anything unexpected, don't let her near my grandchildren. Promise me. Rosa didn't understand then. But 24 hours later, sitting in a jail cell with those words echoing in her skull, she understood perfectly. Eleanor had known. She had sensed the danger circling her. And she had tried to warn the only person she trusted. That same evening, after the empanadas were eaten and the kitchen was cleaned and the twins were tucked into bed, the house grew quiet. Rosa finished her duties at 9 o'clock, as she always did. She checked on Eleanor one last time, bringing her the usual cup of chamomile tea with honey, the same tea she had prepared every night for 5 years. Thank you, dear, Eleanor said, taking the cup with trembling hands. You spoil me. It's my pleasure, Mrs. Webb. Rosa lingered at the doorway for a moment. Something felt strange tonight. The air in the house seemed heavier somehow, charged with something she couldn't name. Is everything all right, Mrs. Webb? Eleanor looked at her with those wise, tired eyes. Everything is fine, Rosa. Go rest. You work too hard. Rosa nodded and closed the door gently behind her. She would never see Eleanor alive again. What Rosa didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that someone else visited Eleanor's room that night. Someone who waited until Rosa's footsteps faded down the hallway. Someone who had been planning this moment for months. At 9:47 p.m., according to the security footage that would later be recovered, Vanessa Ashford walked down the east corridor toward Eleanor's bedroom. She moved slowly, deliberately, staying close to the walls where the camera angles were weakest. She was carrying something in her hand, a small glass vial filled with clear liquid. She paused outside Eleanor's door, listening. Then she slipped inside. The bedroom camera had been disabled 3 days earlier. Vanessa had complained about a technical glitch and insisted the maintenance team would fix it next week. No one questioned her. No one ever questioned her. Inside that room, beyond the reach of any recording device, Vanessa did what she had come to do. She added 12 drops of concentrated oleander extract to Eleanor's half-finished tea. She watched the old woman drink it. She smiled. And then she left, closing the door softly behind her, walking back down the corridor with the same measured steps, the same calm expression, the same perfectly manicured hands that had just ended a life. At 10:15 p.m., Eleanor began to feel unwell. Her heart raced. Her vision blurred. She reached for the phone beside her bed, but her fingers wouldn't cooperate. At 10:32 p.m., Eleanor Webb's heart stopped. At 10:45 p.m., Vanessa discovered the body while doing a routine check on her future grandmother-in-law. She screamed for help. She cried. She held Eleanor's lifeless hand and wailed like a woman destroyed by grief. It was an Oscar-worthy performance. By 11:30 p.m., the police had arrived. By midnight, the medical examiner had noted possible poisoning and ordered an autopsy. By 2 a.m., Vanessa had tearfully pointed the finger at the only person who had access to Eleanor's tea, Rosa, the woman who had served that tea at 9 p.m., the woman whose fingerprints were on the cup, the woman who had no idea that the tea she had prepared with love had been turned into a weapon after she left the room. By 3 a.m., Rosa was in handcuffs, and Vanessa was pouring herself a glass of champagne in the privacy of her bathroom, toasting to her own reflection. 6,000 miles away, Marcus Webb sat in a Tokyo conference room, completely unaware that his world was about to collapse. His phone had been on silent for the past 4 hours, a habit he maintained during important negotiations. The deal was worth $300 million. The investors were demanding. The contracts were complex. Business as usual. When the meeting finally ended at 3 a.m. Tokyo time, which was 11 a.m. back home, Marcus turned on his phone and watched it explode with notifications. 17 missed calls from Vanessa, 12 missed calls from Detective Ramirez LAPD, 9 missed calls from his mother's personal assistant, and 1 voicemail that would change everything. Mr. Webb, this is Detective Ramirez. I'm calling to inform you that your mother, Eleanor Webb, passed away last night under suspicious circumstances. We have a suspect in custody. Please contact us immediately upon receiving this message. Marcus felt the floor disappear beneath his feet. His mother was dead. His mother, the woman who had raised him alone after his father left, who had worked 3 jobs to put him through college, who had celebrated every success and comforted every failure, who had been his anchor through every storm, was gone. He called Vanessa first. His hands were shaking so badly that he could barely press the buttons. She answered on the first ring. Marcus, oh God, Marcus, I'm so sorry. Her voice cracked with sobs. I found her. I found her in her bed. She was just gone. The doctors said it was poison. They think it was in her tea. Marcus couldn't breathe. Poison? Who would poison my mother? A pause. A carefully calculated pause. They arrested Rosa, Marcus. They found her fingerprints on the teacup. They think she did it. The words didn't make sense. They bounced around in Marcus's skull like foreign objects that refused to find a home. Rosa, the woman who had been with their family for 5 years. The woman his daughters loved more than almost anyone. The woman his mother called a blessing from heaven. Rosa was a murderer? That's impossible, Marcus said. Rosa would never hurt anyone. She loved my mother. I know it's hard to accept, Vanessa said, her voice dripping with sympathy. I couldn't believe it either. But the evidence is there, Marcus. The police said it's an open and shut case. Something flickered in Marcus's mind. A small spark of doubt. Not doubt about Rosa, doubt about something else. Something in Vanessa's voice. She sounded sad. She sounded shocked. She sounded like a woman devastated by tragedy. But she didn't sound surprised. Marcus pushed the thought away. He was exhausted, grief-stricken, not thinking clearly. I'm coming home, he said. I'll be on the next flight. Of course, Vanessa said. I'll be waiting for you. We'll get through this together. She hung up, and Marcus sat alone in that Tokyo conference room, staring at the city lights through the window, feeling like he had just stepped into a nightmare from which he would never wake up. He didn't know yet that the nightmare was just beginning. Marcus landed in Los Angeles 18 hours later. He hadn't slept on the plane. He hadn't eaten. He had spent the entire flight staring at photos of his mother on his phone, scrolling through memories that now felt like relics from a different lifetime. Eleanor at his college graduation, beaming with pride. Eleanor holding Sophia and Emily for the first time, tears streaming down her face. Eleanor at Christmas last year, wearing the ridiculous reindeer sweater the twins had picked out for her, laughing that wind chime laugh. Gone. All of it gone. Vanessa met him at the airport. She ran into his arms, sobbing against his chest, playing the role of grieving fiancée with flawless precision. I'm so sorry, Marcus. I'm so sorry. He held her. He let her cry. But that small spark of doubt from the phone call had grown into something larger now. Something he couldn't ignore. Where are the girls? He asked. At home. With the nanny service I hired. I didn't want them to see you like this. Marcus pulled back. You hired a nanny service? Well, yes. Rosa is in jail, Marcus. Someone needed to take care of them. Why didn't you take care of them? The question hung in the air like a blade. Vanessa's expression flickered. Just for a moment, just a fraction of a second, before resetting to concerned sympathy. I've been dealing with the police, the funeral arrangements, the lawyers. I've barely had time to breathe. I did what I thought was best. Marcus nodded slowly. It was a reasonable explanation. Logical. Practical. So why did it feel wrong? They drove home in silence. Marcus stared out the window, watching the familiar streets pass by, feeling like a stranger in his own city. When they arrived at the mansion, Marcus went straight to his daughters. He found them in the playroom, sitting quietly on the floor with untouched toys scattered around them. No laughter, no arguing, no life. Sophia looked up when he entered. Her eyes were red and swollen. "Daddy," she whispered. He knelt down and opened his arms. Both girls ran into them, crashing against his chest, and finally, they cried. "Where's Rosie?" Emily asked between sobs. "They took Rosie away." "Why did they take her?" Marcus felt his heart shatter. "I don't know, sweetheart, but I'm going to find out." "She didn't do it, Daddy," Sophia said fiercely. "Rosie would never hurt Grandma. Rosie loved Grandma. They're lying." Marcus looked at his daughter. 5 years old, barely old enough to understand the concept of death, yet absolutely certain of this one truth. Rosie didn't do it. Children see things that adults miss. They haven't learned yet to ignore the obvious. They haven't been trained to trust credentials and evidence over instinct and observation. Sophia had spent every day of her life with Rosa. She knew her better than any detective, any lawyer, any judge. And she was certain. That certainty planted itself in Marcus's chest like a seed that would soon grow into something unstoppable. That night, after the twins were finally asleep, Marcus sat in his study with his laptop open and his mind racing. Something wasn't right. The pieces didn't fit. He started with the timeline. According to the police report, Rosa had served Eleanor tea at 9 p.m. Eleanor had died at approximately 10:32 p.m. The oleander in her system would have taken effect within 30 to 60 minutes of ingestion. That meant Eleanor would have consumed the poison between 9:30 and 10 p.m. But Rosa had left Eleanor's room at 9:05 p.m. The household logs confirmed it. Rosa had swiped her staff card to access the kitchen at 9:07 p.m., where she had prepared lunch boxes for the twins until 9:45 p.m. She couldn't have poisoned Eleanor during that window. She wasn't even in that wing of the house. So who was? Marcus pulled up the security system. The web mansion had 36 cameras covering every entrance, hallway, and common area. 90 days of cloud storage. Motion-activated recording. He navigated to the footage from the night of the murder. 8 p.m. Rosa enters the kitchen to prepare tea. 8:45 p.m. Rosa carries the tea tray toward Eleanor's room. 9 p.m. Rosa enters Eleanor's bedroom. 9:05 p.m. Rosa exits Eleanor's bedroom. 9:07 p.m. Rosa enters the kitchen. So far, everything matched the police report. Marcus kept watching. 9:15 p.m. Vanessa walks down the east corridor. Marcus leaned forward. 9:17 p.m. Vanessa pauses outside Eleanor's bedroom door. 9:18 p.m. Vanessa enters Eleanor's bedroom. Marcus's blood ran cold. He checked the timestamp again. Then a third time. Vanessa had entered his mother's bedroom at 9:18 p.m., 13 minutes after Rosa left. 9:42 p.m. Vanessa exits Eleanor's bedroom. She had been inside for 24 minutes. 24 minutes. Marcus's hands trembled as he navigated to the interior bedroom camera. Error, camera offline. He tried again. Error, camera offline since 3 of 12. The bedroom camera had been disabled 3 days before the murder. Marcus felt sick. He pulled up the maintenance logs. There it was, a work order submitted by Vanessa Ashford on March 12, reporting a technical malfunction, with the bedroom camera. Status: pending repair. She had disabled the only camera that would have recorded what happened inside that room. It wasn't a coincidence. Couldn't be. Marcus grabbed his phone and called his IT security team. "I need you to recover everything from Vanessa Ashford's personal devices," he said. "Emails, search history, deleted files, everything." "Sir, that's going to take. I don't care how long it takes. Start now. And check her cloud backups. She thinks deleted means gone. Show her she's wrong." He hung up and stared at the frozen frame on his laptop. Vanessa exiting his mother's bedroom at 9:42 p.m., 24 minutes before Eleanor's heart stopped. His fiancée, the woman he was going to marry, the woman who had kissed him goodbye at the airport and told him she loved him, the woman who might have murdered his mother. The IT team delivered their findings at 4 a.m. Marcus hadn't slept. He had spent the hours pacing his study, drinking cold coffee, staring at the security footage like it might reveal something new if he watched it enough times. When the encrypted file arrived in his inbox, he opened it with shaking hands. The first folder was labeled Search History. Recovered. Marcus clicked. February 3rd. Oleander toxicity levels humans. February 7th. How much oleander to cause cardiac arrest? February 12th. Oleander poisoning symptoms timeline. February 19th. How to make poisoning look like natural causes. February 24th. Elderly cardiac arrest investigation procedures. Marcus stopped reading. He couldn't breathe. She had been planning this for months. Researching, preparing, learning exactly how to kill an old woman and make it look like nature taking its course. He forced himself to continue. The second folder was labeled Deleted Messages. Recovered. A text conversation with a contact saved as J. February 15th. Vanessa. The old woman is leaving everything to charity. I get nothing. J. Then we change the plan. She has to go before she signs the new will. Vanessa. Agreed. I know how to do it. Oleander. Grows in the garden. Untraceable if done right. J. And the blame. Vanessa. The maid. Perfect scapegoat. Immigrant. No resources. No one will believe her. March 8th. Vanessa. It's happening next week. He'll be in Tokyo. J. And after. Vanessa. I comfort the grieving son. We marry. I get access to everything. J. Beautiful. Vanessa. I know. Marcus read the messages 3 times. Each time they felt less real, less possible, like he was reading fiction, a script from a movie he would never want to watch. But it was real. Vanessa had murdered his mother. Vanessa had framed Rosa. Vanessa was going to marry him and steal everything his family had built. And she had almost gotten away with it. The third folder was labeled Financial Records. Recovered. Wire transfers from an offshore account to Vanessa's personal account. $200,000 total. Transferred in small increments over 6 months. Payment for what? Marcus dug deeper. The offshore account was registered to a company called Legacy Planning Solutions. The company's sole director was listed as James Whitmore. J. The same J from the text messages. Marcus ran the name through his private investigators database. James Whitmore, 43 years old. Former estate lawyer. Disbarred 5 years ago for fraud. Known associate of several inheritance-related scams across 3 continents. Professional. Con artist. Partner in murder. Marcus closed his laptop slowly. The woman sleeping in his bedroom had killed his mother. She had destroyed an innocent woman's life. She had planned to steal his fortune and raise his daughters. And she had done it all with a smile. Now it was his turn. Marcus made 2 phone calls before the sun came up. The first was to Henry Mitchell, the most feared criminal defense attorney in the state. The same man who had gotten CEOs out of fraud charges and politicians out of scandals. The man you called when you needed someone destroyed legally, completely, and permanently. Henry, I need you to do 2 things, Marcus said. First, get Rosa Delgado released from custody immediately. She's innocent. I have evidence proving someone else committed the murder. What kind of evidence? Security footage showing my fiancée entering my mother's room during the window when the poison was administered. Deleted search history showing she researched oleander toxicity for months. Text messages between her and an accomplice planning the murder and framing the maid. Silence on the other end. Send me everything, Henry said finally. I'll have the charges against Ms. Delgado dropped by noon. And the second thing. I want Vanessa Ashford arrested. Today. In this house. In front of witnesses. That can be arranged. The second call was to Detective Ramirez. Detective, this is Marcus Webb. I have evidence that will change everything about my mother's case. I'm sending it to you now. I need you to be at my house at 2 p.m. today with officers ready to make an arrest. Mr. Webb, I can't just. Check your email, detective. Then call me back. Marcus hung up. His phone rang again 7 minutes later. Mr. Webb. Detective Ramirez's voice was different now. Serious. Alert. I've reviewed the evidence. We'll be there at 2 p.m. Thank you, detective. Marcus ended the call and sat back in his chair. For the first time in days, he felt something other than grief and confusion. He felt clarity, purpose, the cold, focused determination of a man who finally understood exactly what needed to be done. But there was one more thing he had to do first. He walked upstairs to his daughter's room. They were still asleep, tangled together in Sophia's bed the way they always slept when they were scared. Two small bodies pressed close, finding safety in each other when the adult world failed them. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed and gently stroked Emily's hair. She stirred, opened her eyes. Daddy. Hi, sweetheart. Is Rosie coming home? Marcus felt tears burn his eyes. Yes, baby. Rosie is coming home today. I promise. Emily's face lit up, the first real light he had seen in her eyes since he returned. Really? You promise? I promise. Sophia woke up then, rubbing her eyes. Rosie's coming home? She asked sleepily. Yes, she's coming home. Both girls threw their arms around him, squeezing tight, and Marcus held them like he would never let go. These girls had been right all along. They had known the truth when everyone else believed the lie. Children see what adults refuse to see, and sometimes all it takes is listening to them. At exactly 2 p.m., 3 police cars pulled into the driveway of the Webb mansion. Vanessa was in the living room, reviewing fabric samples for what she called Eleanor's Memorial Garden, a project she had announced that morning with tears in her eyes and a speech about honoring her future grandmother-in-law's legacy. The performance was flawless, as always. Marcus stood by the window watching the police approach. His heart was pounding, but his hands were steady. He had waited for this moment. He had earned it. The doorbell rang. Vanessa looked up. Who could that be? Are you expecting someone, darling? Actually, yes, Marcus said quietly. I am. He walked to the door and opened it. Detective Ramirez stood on the threshold with 2 uniformed officers behind him. Mr. Webb, we're ready. Marcus stepped aside. Vanessa stood up as the officers entered, her face shifting through confusion, concern, and finally, when she saw the look in Marcus's eyes, the first flicker of fear. Marcus? What's going on? Why are the police here? Vanessa Ashford, Detective Ramirez said, stepping forward. You are under arrest for the murder of Eleanor Webb, conspiracy to commit murder, and filing a false police report. The color drained from Vanessa's face. What? This is insane. Marcus, tell them this is a mistake. Marcus looked at her. Really looked at her. For the first time since he had discovered the truth. The beautiful face that had fooled him for 2 years. The warm smile that had been nothing but a mask. The gentle hands that had ended his mother's life. I saw the footage, Vanessa, he said quietly. I saw you enter my mother's room that night. I saw the camera you disabled. I read your search history. I read your messages with James Whitmore. Vanessa's mask cracked. Marcus, please. You killed my mother. You framed Rosa. You were going to steal everything from me and my daughters. His voice was steady, but his eyes burned with a fury he had never felt before. And you did it all while looking me in the face and telling me you loved me. I did love you. Everything I did was for us. No. Everything you did was for yourself. Officers, please remove her from my house. The officers stepped forward. Vanessa's composure shattered completely. She screamed. She struggled. She called Marcus every name she could think of. She swore revenge, swore innocence, swore that he would regret this. But the officers kept walking. And Marcus watched as the woman he had planned to marry was led out of his home in handcuffs. The same handcuffs that had been placed on Rosa's innocent wrists 3 days earlier. From the top of the stairs, 2 small faces watched. Sophia and Emily stood side by side, holding hands, their eyes fixed on the scene below. They didn't cry. They didn't speak. They just watched justice finally arrive. And somewhere in their young hearts, a wound began to heal. Rosa came home that same afternoon. Henry Mitchell had worked his magic. The charges were dropped. The records were sealed. By 4 p.m., Rosa Delgado walked out of the county detention center with nothing but the clothes she had been wearing when they arrested her. Marcus was waiting at the gate. Rosa stopped when she saw him. Her eyes were red. Her face was pale. She looked like someone who had aged 10 years in 3 days. "Mr. Webb," she whispered. "I don't understand. They told me the charges were dropped, but they didn't explain." "Get in the car, Rosa. I'll explain everything on the way home." Home. The word hung in the air between them. Rosa climbed into the passenger seat slowly, like she wasn't sure any of this was real, like she was afraid she might wake up back in that cell. Marcus drove. He told her everything. The footage, the search history, the messages, the arrest. Rosa listened in silence, tears streaming down her face. When he finished, she said only one thing. "She killed Mrs. Webb. She killed that beautiful woman." "Yes," Marcus said. "She did. And she tried to destroy me to cover it up." "Yes." Rosa turned to look out the window. "Why?" she asked softly. "Why would someone do something so evil?" Marcus had no answer. There was no answer that could make sense of what Vanessa had done. No explanation that could justify the cold, calculated destruction of innocent lives for money. Some people were simply broken in ways that couldn't be understood. When they pulled up to the mansion, the twins were waiting on the front steps. The moment Rosa stepped out of the car, Sophia and Emily ran toward her like their lives depended on it. "Rosie!" They crashed into her with the force of 2 small hurricanes, wrapping their arms around her legs, around her waist, burying their faces against her. Rosa fell to her knees and held them both, crying openly now, her shoulders shaking with sobs she had held inside that cold concrete cell. "I'm here," she whispered. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I promise." Marcus stood back and watched. This woman, this immigrant, this maid, this person the world had decided didn't matter, had more love in her heart than Vanessa could have faked in 1,000 lifetimes. And his daughters had known it. They had known it when everyone else believed the lie. 3 years later, Rosa was no longer the housekeeper. She was family, officially, legally, permanently. Marcus had established a trust fund in her name. Her mother in El Salvador lived comfortably now. Her sister had finished nursing school. And every night, Rosa still tucked Sophia and Emily into bed, still sang them the same songs, still told them they were loved. Because sometimes the truth doesn't shout. Sometimes it waits quietly, hoping someone will care enough to look. If the story touched your heart, hit that like button right now. Subscribe so you never miss another story. And tell me in the comments, who was the real hero? Marcus, who finally saw the truth? Or Rosa, who never stopped loving those girls, even when it cost her everything? I'll see you in the next one.